Good morning, everyone. We are from the second group. Let me introduce myself and my friends to you. I'm Eva Oliana, and my friends they are Lukman Hakim, Akmal Taufikur Rahman, Uti Badia Hasana, Mira Fuji, Muhammad Rizky Gunadi, and Rohayani. Well, today we want to present about material development, selecting and evaluating ELT materials. First, presentation will be delivered by me, then be continued by my friends, and the last section there will be question and answer section. Okay, let's move to the material. Material development is basically dealing with selection, adaptation, and creation of teaching materials. First point, most people think of teaching as the overt presentation of information by teachers to learners. In this point, the term teaching is used to refer to anything done by materials developers or teachers to facilitate the learning of the language. This could include the teacher standing at the front of the classroom explaining the convention of direct speech in English. In other way, teaching can be direct, indirect, preemptive, facilitative, responsive, or remedial. The second point, in learning. Learning is normally considered to be a conscious process which consists of the committing to memory of information relevant to what is being learned. Whilst such direct learning of, for example, spelling rules, convention of greetings, and vocabulary items can be useful to the language learner. Language learning can be explicit or implicit, can also be a bit of declarative or procedure knowledge. The third point is anything which is done by writers, teachers, or learners to provide sources of language input and to exploit those sources in ways which maximize the likelihood of intake. The fourth is the supplying of information about and experience of the language in ways designed to promote language learning. Material development have a goal to create materials that can serve as resources for effective teaching. The writer starts with a learning goal in mind and then seeks to create a set of activities that enable that goal to be reached. Some teachers may question their need to develop materials if everything they need is already in a textbook elaborated by people who really know. Being this a very valid visit from Marlene Ramirez Salas in her journal that tells the textbook, together with the syllabus, is the backbone that holds up a language course. In a textbook, teachers do find an appropriate sequence to follow and a support to base their daily teaching. Textbooks are good outlines that teachers can follow and adapt to their teaching, cultural and institutional needs, and it be a reason that teachers have to develop materials. There are process of transformation phase by Sulman. It comes from preparation to representation and adapting and tailoring to student characteristics. Now let's move to advantages and disadvantages. Material development have both of them. I will explain about advantages first. There are relevance. Materials can be produced that are directly relevant to student and institutional needs. The second is develop expertise by giving them a greater understanding of the characteristic of effective materials. The third, reputation. Institutionally developed materials may enhance the reputation of the institution by demonstrating its commitment to providing materials developed particularly for its students. The last is flexibility. By giving them a greater flexibility than a commercial coursebook. But on the other hand, material development have disadvantages. The first is cost. Quality materials take time to produce and adequate staff time, as well as resources need to be allocated to such a project. Next, quality. Teachers-made materials will not normally have the same standard of design and production as commercial materials, hence may not present the same image as commercial materials. And the third is training. To prepare teachers for materials writing project, adequate training should be provided. The last point is about characteristic of developed. There are 4 characteristics that make a good material development. The first one is the fact that materials should have an impact on the students and arouse learners' curiosity, attention, and interest. By impact, Tomlinson refers to materials that make use of different types of sources, attractive presentation, and appealing content. For example, newspaper, internet sites, radio, and magazines. The second characteristic is exposure to real language, which is attained by giving students opportunities to use language in real-life communicative activities. By having guest speakers, radio interviews, lectures, class surveys, spontaneous conversation, and panels in class, students can be exposed to real language. As a third feature, materials should address different learning styles and intelligence. If teachers know their students, they will design activities in which students can really feel at ease using their learning preference and abilities. The fourth is important features of materials adaptation the fourth is the guidance towards students' autonomy and independence. The last trends in EFL teaching support and encourage the idea that students need to learn to be responsible for their own learning and to know that they can do activities in and out of class by themselves. I think that's all from me. Thank you. Next, let's move to the next presenter. Yes, Lukman Hakim.
Okay, thank you very much for the time that has given to me. My name is Ruman Hakim and my student's number is 192122084. In this occasion, I'd like to share you about principles in material design. The first one starts from Noonan in 1988. He said that materials should be closely linked to the curriculum they serve. There are 3 parts in here of the curriculum development. The first one is curriculum planning, curriculum implementation, and curriculum evaluation. Start from the first one, curriculum planning. There are 4 parts. Identify learners' need. It means teachers have to know what our students needs. And then set goals and objectives. It means after we have known what our students need, we can set or we can write vision and mission. Then the third one is write materials. This can make easy our learning process. And the last one is write text. This is one of way to or method to measure how far our students understand. Okay, the second one is curriculum implementation. There are 3 points in here. The first one, instruct learners. Give clearly instruction to our learners or our students. Then the second is monitor and adapt the instruction. We can monitor and we can adapt or give the time to our student if there is not clearly or there is problem in our instruction. Then the third one is write supplementary materials. And here we can add the other materials that still relate to what our topic. And then the third one is material evaluation. There are 3 points. The first is task learners. This can measure how they understand or not. The second one is evaluated curriculum. Can be done after we do two parts of development curriculum. And then the third one is plan change in the curriculum. This is the next step that can we do after evaluate the curriculum. We can add the positive and discuss the negative in the next curriculum. Next one. Here, 6 principles in material science by Hutchinson and Waters in 1987. There are 6. The first one, good material provides stimulus to learning and encourage students to learn. This is still related with the behaviorism method. Yes. The next one is good material should have the teaching learning process. While a good material can give or can have the learning process. And the next one is material embody a view of the nature of learning language or language learning. This can make our learning language or language learning to be more support, to be more interactive and effective, especially. Next one is material reflect to the nature of language learning. This point still related with the previous one. And then the next one, material function to provide the basis of teacher training by introducing teachers to the new techniques. It means material can give some new things, how to manage our students, how method that can serve our material well and the other. And then the next or the last one is good material provide correct models of appropriate language use. Good material can be easy to understand when we use the language as easy to understand and as easy to catch by our students. Well, in conclusion, we can conclude that there are several ways to make to support our design material or material design, and that's all. I think that's all for me.
Hello everyone, my name is Akmal Taufikur Rahman, and in this section I would like to explain about consideration of selecting the instructional material. But before we start, let's talk what is instructional material. Instructional material is a tool that assists the teacher in the teaching process. In teaching language, instructional material could be a flashcard, picture, audio record, and audio visual. Instructional material are not self-supporting. It means instructional material not only for help teacher, it's also helping student to understand the material that they learn. So there are 7 things to consider when we have to choose the instructional material. First is presented ideas by instructional material, contribution that given, students' age, intelligence, and experience, condition of instructional material, provided teacher guides, students' development of creative and critical thinking, and work, time, cost, and effort. First is presented ideas by instructional materials. It means instructional material should give a true picture or idea that we want to present it to teacher, so it will avoid the misconception. The next is contribution given. It means the instructional material should contain meaningful content for the studied topics, so it will help you to achieve the teaching objective. Next is students' age, intelligence, and experience. Instructional material should be appropriate with students' age, student intelligence, and students' experience. So it's impossible to give the young or the beginner learner some complex instructional material, because it will make them confused in learning session. Next is condition of instructional material. We should know the condition of instructional material. Is it on good condition and ready to use or not? For example, we are going to use audio record as the instructional material. So we have to check if the sound system and the audio player is on a good condition and ready to use. The next is provided teacher guides. It means we have to check, is there any teacher guides to help the teacher to maximize potential of instructional material. Next is students' development of creative and critical thinking. It means, as the teacher, we should know if the instructional material that we use could help the student to improve his creativity and his critical thinking. The next is worth for time, cost, and effort. It means we have to make sure that the time, cost, and effort for the instructional material we use are worth it and helping us to achieve the teaching objective. So it's not wasting the 3 resources above. For the optimal usage of instructional material, teacher should prepare the 4 things. The 4th thing is himself, his study, his students, he presents the material, and a follow-up. Teacher should prepare himself. It means teacher should know the lesson objective and what she expects from the class after the session, and why he or she have to choose such particular instructional material. Next is the preparing the student. It means teacher have to set the reasonably and high class expectation and the learning goals, and teacher have to motivate them so they will keep interested and engaged. Next is presenting material. It means if you're using the media or material that technically you have to prepare the performance in teaching carefully. And finally is follow up. It means teacher should understand that teacher using the instructional material for help them to achieve the lesson objective. That's all from me. The next material will be presented by my partner.